works out for the best.
Yeah, I'll record it as well.
Cool.
So let me see, what would you like me to call it?
So what I put, so feel free if you want to change it, Through the Magical Doors with a business psychic, Carrie Cardozo, or with Carrie Cardozo, whatever you think.
Cool. It should be going live now.
Fab. And is that on your main page?
Yes. It's going to go on my personal page.
Okay, great.
That way you can share it to anything. Hold on.
It takes a little bit longer for my laptop. Okay, to load.
Cool. It should be going live.
Yay.
And I'll share it on I'll share it with my phone.
Fab.
I'll share it into my group. But we should be live.
Yay.
It's all yours.
Fantastic. Lovely. So thank you so much. So hello, everybody. It's lovely to have you here. We've had a few techie issues, but we've managed to, well, Carrie saved the day again. So here we are now over Zoom and live streaming as well in Facebook. So my name is Samaya Adeline. I'm a business shaman. I'm also a spiritual guide and a soul healer for creators and visionaries. I pretty much help men and women really unearth their gifts and all the skills and the kind of innate gifts to really be able to serve others and be in alignment with the work that they do and to be happy with the work that they do. So, and I am here today with Carrie as the first episode of a series of transparent conversations, I call them, that I felt really the desire to initiate and have, because I feel there's some really wonderful people doing really great work in our community and really shifting the energy on the planet, really helping people with their development and really getting us in alignment. And I really wanted to have those conversations so that we can start really asking those questions that are important questions and getting all the juicy stuff that so many of us, we want to know about. And I had no qualms and no kind of doubts about who I wanted the first person to be. And that was Carrie Cardozo, who's been my coach over the last few years. And I want to say thank you so much, Carrie, for being here. Although this is essentially your space.
That's okay. At least we figured it out. That's okay.
Yeah, we did. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm just, you have no idea how excited I feel about having this conversation with you today, and how, I want to say a few things about how important you've been in my life and how much you've changed the trajectory of my life. And I want to talk a little bit about the different ways that has been showing up for me. And how integral to my everyday has been. But I also felt like really excited because you're one of those people that you, your depth, your awareness, the tenacity and strength you have in how you are showing up in your life, not just in your business, but in your life, and how holistically you embrace your path, that it feels like you're one of those people that it's such a juicy conversation that we can have. And I felt immediately this, oh my gosh, where do I start? There's so many questions I want to ask you and so many things that I want to dive into, but also wanting to make sure that we kind of touch on those things that are really prominent at the moment, that are bringing up a lot of fear for people. And, we're going through so much change in our planet. So I feel that there's some really important issues that we can tackle as well.
Yeah. It all sounds great. Wherever you want to go. I know I haven't looked at any of the questions you had asked me because I've been without internet for 5 days.
Okay, great.
I have no preconceived notions about this. Wherever you want to go, we're good.
And you know what it's like with questions. Sometimes you have some questions in mind, but it's often the raw material that presents at the time of the conversation and working with the energy of the moment. And that feels really important. But if you don't mind, I want to share a few more things to people about how coming across you, meeting you, and the work that we've done together, how that's impacted my life. Because I'll be honest with you, I had no idea, and it's still a lot is unraveling for me. And that was in 2017, right? That I was introduced to your group by a friend. And I knew that I jumped into having a session with you that was really important to me. And I remember thinking how much value was packed in that session. But I kind of like, I need to say that I had no idea when I stepped into doing business, Psychic Business Academy with you. I had no idea. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't really believe that so much was going to be had from that experience. And I think, was somebody who I had a lot of resistance, and there was a lot of fear, and there was a lot of stuff that I just didn't know what was possible. So one of the things that I want to say, first of all, thank you is about the fact that, you've introduced me to what's so much more that is possible in my personal life and in my business to be had, but particularly through my intuitive development. And so that was something that was pretty big for me, pretty substantial. And I want to touch a little bit before we go, and sorry if it's going into a bit of introduction.
No, you're good.
I know that, when people want to have conversations with people, it's sometimes really good to have an experience of like what that person has had through having an experience with that person. So the first thing I want to say, on a very, very foundational level, my day-to-day life has changed significantly in that I trust my intuition and my gut feeling in a way that I didn't before. So I came to you to do some work on a sort of business level, but I found myself transforming in many, many ways that I just hadn't really seen coming. So like small things to day-to-day living with my family, decisions I need to make about myself, about my son, like from the very small mundane things to like getting a sense of what my son wants to eat and what's going to be good to cook, to things like decisions that are going to affect his health and his development and things like that. How that's affected in decisions I make around relationships with people, and in a way that feels really tangible and that feels really right. So I've stopped, as a consequence, I honestly have not worked with, until recently, I started to do some skills coaching on some particular thing that I want to develop. Yeah. I want to learn a particular skill. But I have not worked with a coach since we've worked, because the development that came from that and what's kind of been unpacking ever since has been pretty big. And I know also that it's only opened up a door that I'm now continuing to grow and develop, that it's now I'm still like engaging with. Yeah. On the level of my business, I've created 2 really super solid, really incredible, super aligned programs that have all the magic and all that very personal kind of aligned energy, soul energy that is me. And for me, that held a lot of fear. When I came to work with you, I really felt like, do you remember that? There was a lot of fear around. And I think that, oh my gosh, like I brought so much resistance and fear around what was possible to be created. And I could not have been happier about and it's only the beginning, because I know as the more I teach them, the more I get to like to deepen those skills and I can see how it helps people. So those 2 things have been absolutely fundamental for me. But also I came into the program like as a normal Somalian, and I left a little alien. I've started connecting with these beings and having these experiences that have been bringing tremendous value in my life. And I guess that's kind of where I wanted to start, because it has been quite a journey, and I honestly came knowing that I was going to get some value, but I didn't realize it was going to be that much, considering the level of resistance I was bringing and where my limited beliefs were. Yeah. So I'm kind of curious, knowing your journey, how much has fear and resistance been part of your journey as you started using your gifts? Obviously, I need to say to people, you're the psychic business coach, so you are primarily working on spiritually and on the psychic realm with the help of guides and beings as well. So how much has that been part of that transformation, been part of your journey as well? And what needed to shift or has shifted as you went on working in the way that you do now?
Yeah. So first off, yes, fears absolutely has been a part of my journey. And it's something that I think no matter what level you're at or what you do or how good you are at it or how long you've been doing it, I think that fear is something that helps us to recognize that we're always stepping out of our comfort zone, that we're always growing, we're always evolving, we're always doing more and more. And I do want to say that you did amazing in the program. You really did. And I know that there was a lot of stuff. It's one thing that I try to tell people when I first work with them is I always say, like, it's a lot of work. There's a lot we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing healing.
It is a lot of work.
And people are just like, yeah. And there's like, people have said to me, you need to put a warning on what you do. And it takes a lot of believing in yourself. It takes a lot of you being honest, and it takes a lot of you showing up, and you did all of those things. You did all of those things, and you really have done an amazing job. So I just want to say that. But yeah, I work with my guides every single day. So like you said, you use your guides to check in with your son. Like, does he want to eat this? Is he healthy? I use my guides or work with my guides every single moment of every single day. It's funny because people will often say to me, and I read a comment from a woman this morning who said that I shared that I hadn't had internet or power for a long time, almost a week. And somebody had shared that they didn't either. And it was a great time for them to tap into their guides and tap into their self. And it's actually the opposite for me. So when I am not working and when I'm doing something like I need a break, I actually don't talk to my guides at all because I talk to them so much on a daily basis. So everything I do is connecting with my guides, but it didn't just happen like that. I often share that I've been psychic my entire life, but it was something that I didn't realize I was doing. There were many times that I would go to my mom and say, I see a lady or I see an animal, and my mom would be like, okay, like that's fine, just go talk to them or whatever. She always thought I was just daydreaming, or she thought I was just pretend playing, and nobody realized that it's what I was doing. But when I really started embracing my abilities and I really started to hone my abilities and use them, it was scary. It was really scary on multiple levels. For one, I worked in the business world, and I worked with a lot of bankers and realtors and investors in the medical profession. And nobody knew I was psychic. In all honesty, I didn't really know I was psychic then, to all of a sudden living a psychic life, building a psychic business. And everything I do, if anybody knows me or anybody's worked with me, people will come to me and say, oh, I have a great idea, I'd love to do this. And I'm like, cool, let me channel on it and I'll get back to you. I do everything in my business based on my channeling, based on, checking in with my guides, checking in with myself, checking in with my path. And I never used to do that before. So it was uncomfortable to start doing that, especially with the people who knew me prior.
And it's very interesting because looking at your website and you really go into your story, and I think it's really great how you reveal how much really broke down for you. Like you've gone through some really major life experiences, but what's interesting, what the lesson behind it was that in a way you kept on not looking at what needed to be looked at and taking the call. You've been given like a chance to turn things around in your life, and you were not ready to do so at the time. And in a way you really started to understand that actually you were just ignoring all these pieces of information that were coming to you and advice that were going to steer you in the right direction. So was that quite a pivotal moment for you, I guess, in making that turn, in starting to work with spirit and using that advice in your day-to-day life, as well as how you grew your business? And what are some of the key things that they asked you that you really needed to shift and change in order to come more into alignment? What really needed to shift, and what was the most difficult thing for you to do at the time?
Yeah. So what I really needed to shift, and this kind of went along with the situation that really, or the event that really like led me to where I am now, was the passing of my fiance.
Mm.
And when he passed, I started to question so many things. And the very first thing I questioned was like, is there life after death? Because I was so busy. I was young. I had 3 kids. I was running a multi-million-dollar company. Like, we were just excited. We were planning our lives. We were just like in the moment doing it. And it's not that it was bad, it was great. But what I realized was I wasn't as connected to myself. I wasn't tuning into myself. Everything was projected outside of me. So it was, I
Mhm.
was worried about the business that I ran, and it wasn't my business. I was worried about my kids. I was worried about my relationship. I was worried about what I was going to do here. And I never worried about me. And I don't mean worry, but I never paid attention, I guess is the right word, to
Yeah.
me. And so when Mike died, it was it was literally like hitting a brick wall going 1,000 miles a minute. Everything in my life, like everything came crashing down. There wasn't anything that was the same. Friendships weren't the same. I lost friendships during it. And a lot of it was my fault because I felt like I wasn't understood. I ended up losing my job. I put myself in a ridiculous amount of debt building my business. My kids went through some things. It was just a really, really, it was like rock bottom, I guess, and for,
Mm.
lack of a better word. But one of the
Mm.
things that I was forced to do was to uncover what my truth was. And that was
Mm.
so important. And part of my truth was not just who I am, but the truth of, I guess, existence, for lack
Yeah,
of a better
yeah,
word.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I had to understand like where he went. And all of that led me down this path of where I am now. And I had to, on so many levels, get honest with myself about what I wanted, about what I didn't want, about who I was, about what I was capable of doing. And my guides had said to me, and it was funny because they just kept bringing me person after person after person. I just wanted answers. And I just kept saying, please just give me answers. I like to ask a lot of questions if anybody knows me. And I just really wanted answers. And every time I would ask a question of somebody, they would or have ask a question to the universe. I wasn't necessarily talking to my guides at the time, but I
Sure.
was just kind of talking to the universe. They would bring me somebody, and their answer to me, I would ask them a question, and their answer to me would be, you're psychic, and they're telling me you have all the answers. And I'd be talking to psychic people, asking them for answers. And that was basically like the answer they would give me is, you have it. You have all the information. You just need to use it. And then even
Mm.
some of them would say, we're being told that you can help us. And I was like, wait a second, like this, I'm so new to this world, and I'm coming to, experience psychics to get information. And they would turn it around and start asking me information. But I had to own who I was. I had to get honest
Mm.
about the fact that I was a psychic. I had to get honest about the fact that the information that I knew, what I was capable of doing, and that I was going to be doing this in business. My business didn't take off until I admit that I was a psychic. I actually called myself a psychic. And that's been a little bit of a
Yeah.
controversy with people, me calling myself, and I know it triggers people.
Mm.
And I had to do this on the level at which my guides asked me to do it, or it was like I just kept stalling. I just kept digging myself into a deeper hole.
Mm.
And again, that's where so much fear came in. Am I going to be accepted? Am I going to be made fun of? Am I going to be, prosecuted or kicked out because I'm a psychic? Am I going to be misunderstood? There's so much fear. Am I going to be able to make this successful? Because I was really great at doing business, and I understand business on a really deep level, that fundamental level. But now I was bringing in the psychic and the spiritual aspect to it, and I didn't know that I could make that work.
Yeah, and that's really great because you touched on some of the questions I had around, some of the challenges that we encounter as we build our awareness, I guess, and we build that muscle as well, because that's one of the things I wanted to check with you. And I loved what you said, because it's a lot about essentially you being asked to step into your own power and really embody who you are, and really own those gifts. And it's almost like you were forced in that place in your life where there was just no other way but face it and be it, and really kind of take it on board and really start living from that place. So I really love that. What would you say for for people who might think that, you know, there's conversation out there that maybe psychic gifts are the gifts of few, or are things that only few can tap into. And then, you know, something that I got to learn over the last few years was that, which is why I came a little bit reluctantly to you, or at least with limited beliefs of what was possible. What I grew to believe was that actually it's a muscle. Everyone is psychic to a different degree, and that there's a muscle. I guess that's what I've learned working with you. It's a muscle that just needs exercising like everything else.
Right.
But because it tends to be a little bit more in the realm of the unseen, it can feel like something that, you know, we don't talk enough about. And it's something that people are not as, you know, they don't necessarily always believe in. What's your stance on this? And you know, yeah, I'm interested to see what you think about that.
So yeah, I do believe, and I've been shown that everybody has a level of psychic abilities. Now, when I use the word psychic, it's not just somebody who can tell the future.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's an oracle, that's prophet. They can tell the future,
Mm-hmm.
but it's psychic is being able to read energy, whether it's past, present, future, whatever it is. And everybody has that ability within inside of them. But you're absolutely right. It's at multiple different levels. And you might be somebody who can see spirit, but you might not be able to hear spirit. You might not be able to feel energy, and that's okay. You might be somebody who can just hear spirit, but never sees energy. And
Yeah.
that's okay as well. They're all different levels. But the most important thing to know and to remember, and I get this a lot with people, it is the number one thing that holds people back from opening their psychic abilities is
Yes, please do share.
there's a couple, but the one thing, like, I'll open people's psychic abilities. It's one of the things that I do is help them to activate them and to see them. But if you do not practice, it
Practice
doesn't
it.
matter what abilities you have. And I'm talking like, I wouldn't go out and run a marathon, and I work out every single day, but I'm not at a level to run a marathon and
Yeah.
by any means. And people think that by practice is that if I open their abilities and show them what is capable, because I can, even if your abilities aren't really open or strong, I can manipulate your energy so it raises your vibration so you can hear and see what it is being
Yeah.
presented around you. But the minute I take my energy away, you go back down to
Yeah.
where you were.
Yeah.
And people get super frustrated because they don't understand the extent of practice. I spent 18 months practicing 8 hours a day, and my abilities were already open. It wasn't my first go round. And I
Yeah.
spent so much time. And the second thing that holds people back is their lack of trust. You're right.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we work in an unseen world. So I'm asking, or, the spirit is asking us to believe in something that we can't produce in the physical world right away. Oftentimes I'll channel on things that come to light a month later, a couple days later, a year later, and we might not see any type of results or any
For a
type of,
while.
like even any type of signs that it's going to be that way for a long time. When we work in psychic abilities, it also is elevating our level of trust. And we must trust in ourselves and our abilities, the guides that we work with, and we must stay true to that. So that's not just saying, okay, you need to promote this program until you sell 4 of them. And you're like, yes, this is great. I'm going to promote my program until I sell 4. And then you're promoting for 3 weeks and you don't sell any. So then all of a sudden you're like, it's not working. That's not trust. Trust is
Yeah.
continuing to do the work. Yes, you might have to
Yeah.
course correct. You might have to look at some strategy things, but it's trusting is you stay committed till you see the results, not till a certain
Yeah.
time goes by.
I did feel that when I started noticing things that were just really, when I was taking on the advice I was receiving and it was working, and when I wasn't taking it and I was not getting the result I was wanting for whatever reason, I found that very interesting. And that was enough of a reason for me to kind of develop the curiosity to say, okay, I really need to keep going with it, especially after we came out of the container of the Psychic Business Academy. And I guess I was left alone with it. And in a way, that's the testing time, right? That's when you kind of want to like test and see what you've been learning and how it's going. And I started with small things, and they started becoming bigger and bigger. And it was interesting. I remember going through a time where, you know, at the time of Psychic Business Academy, I was really recovering or healing from a deep soulmate karmic situation that I was letting go, which I managed to do so and produce this program. So I'm amazed that it happened. And I remember my energy felt different. And I remember thinking, okay, Spirit gave me the advice of, if I wanted to make some money, they gave me a price range that was going to be right for my one-to-one sessions, that was going to definitely sell, and in a way also build on my confidence, but also it was going to be more manageable for me energetically to maintain. And I remember taking that and thinking, gosh, we can do this with ease and grace. It doesn't have to always be that hard. And just that kind of creative space that it opened up to interact with Spirit, you know, get my needs met as well in the meantime. So one of the things I want to ask now, I guess, as you're talking about the fact that, yes, it is very much a muscle we can all develop. What do you think would be like a preparatory ground for people who perhaps haven't done any work like that, who just say, look, I don't care about the being a psychic right now, but I would love to feel more connected with my intuition, and just to get that really basic sense of like, is my gut level right here? You know, am I making right gut decisions? You know, so on that very basic level, what do you think are some of the things people could do so that I can start tuning in? I've got some things in my mind. I'd love to hear what you think about that.
Yeah, there's a couple things, and that's a great place to start, because so much of when we, you know, when we channel, I think one of the biggest things that is coming about is that people think just because you're psychic, that everything you channel is the right information. And that's not true. So even when you channel, so I'll channel and I'll channel with, you know, I channel with my guides primarily, but I'll channel with other people's guides. I'll look at, you know, information. I do a lot of entity clearing
Yes.
and discarnate clearing and stuff like that. So whenever I'm doing that, I always tune in with me. Your body, your soul, your spirit will always tell you if something is truth or not. And that is the first thing you must do as a psychic, is tune into your body, because your body is like it's like the lie detector test. It will tell you, yes, it's true, or no, this is not. And so in order to do that, we need to be able to feel into our bodies clear. And the thing that prevents us from doing that is fear and disconnection. And we will disconnect because of fear, because our minds are filled with fear, they're filled with worry, they're filled with judgment. And so the very first thing you must do is clear your mind. So as a psychic, it is imperative that you meditate. And I don't mean meditate like, you know, or anything like that. Like, I don't care what you do when you do it. Meditate to the purpose of silencing your mind. We do not channel through our mind. You don't channel with your intellect. You don't channel with the knowledge that you have. You channel through receiving. And so meditation as a psychic is 100% important. You must be able to silence that mind so you can hear and receive information coming in from outside you, or that your soul has, which is down here in your chest level, not up here in your mind.
And sorry to interrupt you. I love this so much, because I think one of the things that I'm getting from this also, I remember this very much, and because I'm really helping in my program, The Playground, we get to do some work around intuitive development on the level where I am and what I can do. Yeah. And one of the things that is coming into light is around how people first get to notice, oh my gosh, so much conditioning is there. Like, in a way, that is a thing in itself. When they reach that point of realizing just how much stuff is packed into the mind that is not even theirs, that often in a way takes over the lead and controls, you know, and then people realizing, so I don't even know who's making decisions for my life. Is it even me? You know? So in a way, that is a job in itself, I think, to start really kind of, and in a way, irrelevant if people want to connect with intuition or not. I think it's just that kind of deprogramming aspect of just releasing anything from limited beliefs, conditionings from society, from family. And just before you get to the core of who you are, there's a whole bunch of stuff that needs to be seen and released first. And just maybe to see, okay, that's what's been running the show, rather than actually us. And in a way, one of the reasons why so many people have really been resisting and have issues connecting with intuition is because of there's just all these layers that are not even them.
Yeah, 100% right. There, you must clear your stuff that's holding you back. You must do healing work. People will come to me and say, I just want to be a psychic. I'm like, okay, cool. So our first 6 weeks together is healing. If you, it's not just let me open your psychic abilities. And even people who have psychic abilities that they use, I train a lot of people who already are psychics. Actually worked with a woman who was a psychic for 35 years. And she came to me to help her to grow her psychic abilities. We do healing. And it's funny because I've had people, multiple people, who have turned into amazing psychics or on their path to amazing psychics. And they actually came to me just to do healing. And I only take few people to do that. I actually don't even promote that I do personal healing. And every single solitary person who has come to me for personal healing has inadvertently, not on purpose, opened their psychic abilities and started tuning in and hearing things because that was their path. And those are normally the only people who come to me to heal, are people who are meant to start stepping into that psychic and spiritual realm. And we don't have to, you don't force your abilities to open. When you force things, you shut the flow off. It's like taking a hose and kinking it, or taking a straw and bending it. So, but when you allow and you just do the healing and you're going through the motions of healing and getting to know yourself better and, you know, being truthful and honest with yourself, your ability, the energy starts flowing, you start connecting better, and your abilities start to open no matter what they are.
I absolutely. And one of the things also wanted to say is that, because we've talked a little bit about the, you know, we might find initially that there's a sense like, okay, I was always more claircognizant. I mean, I used to read the tea leaves and coffee grounds about 10 years ago. And in a way, I thought that was my medium. Yeah. And in a way, I could read things into patterns and through something like we drank or whatever. My abilities have expanded so much more that I didn't expect. But it was like, you know, I think you had mentioned you start with one thing, but you find that as you hone into this one thing, then another ability will start opening up, like clairvoyance. And then they're all kind of meshed with one another sometimes, I find. And it's like, it's not necessarily distinctively that or the other. But I've been really impressed to see how by stepping into, but to the one or two things that kind of I felt I could connect with, other things will open up as well, just as long as we show up. I'm interested to know now, kind of turning it a bit around, as like, you know, working with so much with all these different beings. What do you think that they are doing exceptionally different to us, that if we were able to incorporate in our lives, we'd be so much happier? And I'm not talking about being just intuitive development here. I mean about just being more fulfilled, more, you know, what is it that we can learn from how they do things that if we were to do differently, of course, in the realm and the experience we have on the on this planet, right? And the limitation that it provides. But how, what's something that we could know that we could really shift things with?
So there's a couple things. For one, is something my guides always say is that there's no rush, like stop, slow down. We put a timeline on everything, and we also put an expectation on everything. And there's, when we try to rush things, it's a clear indication that we don't trust the process or we don't trust the journey. And so if we can let go of this need to hurry up and get it done, we oftentimes will have a goal in sight and we're working toward that goal, but we will have surpassed that goal. We will have reached it and been moving on to another one without even recognizing that we reached the goal. So we take no time to celebrate. We take no time to be honest with ourselves and really look at our progress, because we're seeing it on a day-to-day basis. When we see things every single day, we don't see the massive changes. So they are asking us to trust the journey that we're on and everything that it entails. You know, people will often come to me and say, you know, I at times will share struggles that I've had, and I try to along the way without scaring people. I go through some pretty crazy stuff because I work with beings,
Some
and
crazy beings, yeah.
I work with some crazy stuff. So
Yeah.
I share a lot of my journey, and people will often say to me, but you're a psychic, like you should have known. And there's jokes like, oh, the psychic didn't see this coming. We're not meant to. And that's something that we have to, as humans, let go of. We're constantly questioning everything. And sometimes when we question everything, we slow the process down, and we question it based on our own expectations. So we will be told something like, I shared a story this weekend. My guides said back in January, when I was doing my year review, I map out my whole year. They said August, I would be taking 5 to 7 days off. So in my mind, I thought they meant like booking a flight, going to like an island, or, you know, someplace warm, sitting on a beach.
At least you might as well book some good holiday
like,
somewhere.
I was like, cool, 5 to 7 days by myself. That's what my expectation was. And when I read that in the end of July, like just over a week ago, I literally started laughing because I was like, for one, I'm not getting on a plane and going anywhere. I was supposed to be in Hawaii right now, but you guys changed that. I said, and there's just like, I have so much going on. And literally like 2 or 3 days later, I lost everything. Power went out, internet went out, I had no cell phone service.
Because they know they know you'd be showing up trying to do as much as work as possible. So they had to shut you down like that.
Right. But it was also like a lesson, like, just because we say things and we can receive information, but our interpretation of it is exactly that, our interpretation of it. And this is where we're supposed to kind of let go of our expectations, not in the sense that like I have a lot of goals and I have a lot of intentions, but the way at which I'm going to get there, I'm so open to the path. So I'm not creating the path. I'm excited for the destination, but I'm allowing them to create the path and show me where my next steps are. Or my path could be like 16 miles long, where if I just trusted, followed what they said, I can get there in 2 miles. But the 2-mile one for me seems impossible. Maybe it's something I didn't even think of. Maybe it's something I wasn't even aware of consciously at the time. So it's so much about trusting, slowing down, letting go of expectations, and really tuning into the things that matter most in life. And that's an individual thing, but so many times the guides will really ask, like, how much does this matter? And I always do that. I will always say, like, in 5 years, will this even matter? In 1 year, will this even matter? If not, why am I giving so much of my attention to it? It's
interesting that, but I love how in a way the lesson is about mindfulness and being able to be mindful about what we are creating, who we are, how we're living in the world. And in a way also, you know, for me, I'm thinking how it feels like such an achievement, just the fact that we made it on planet Earth. And just the fact that the amount of energy we need to put to make things happen, and just creating things in a grounded way, it takes a lot. And sometimes we don't notice. And I realize that when I give myself a hard time, that actually, gosh, I've got so much going on for me with my family and my work and this and that. And it's like, it's okay that I'm not there yesterday where I want to be, you know, but actually in a way, it's very hard to see in the bigger scheme of things, like to really have a true perspective of how fast or how slow we are. We might think we're slow, but actually we're much faster than we anticipate, because it's a bit deeper and more complex than that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I love that as
2020.
Yeah.
You can, like, looking back, it's like, oh my gosh, I should have seen this, or I should have known that, or I could have done this, or I could have done that. But it really is about the journey. Like, Earth is like school. And if we can wrap our heads around that, we come to Earth to learn about ourselves, to master certain things that we chose to master, to be able to help others along the way. So this is like school for us to learn, for us to evolve, for us to grow. And it's like 1 year of school. It's just 1 year. But for us as humans, it's like our entire life. It's like our entire existence. It's from birth to death. It just seems so long and so important. And not that it's not important, but it's just one aspect of a much bigger thing.
So what can we have then as goalposts? So if people want to think, okay, I still want like some kind of reference as to me growing and developing, and what can we set as goalposts? So thinking, for instance, things like, okay, you know, in terms of having certain goals, working towards those goals, am I taking enough leaps of faith? You know, am I getting out of my comfort zone? So rather than having time and the timeline as our focus, what do you think some of those references should be for us, of things to be looking towards, you know, to work towards, you know, so that we feel, oh yeah, I'm going through a sense of progression here.
Yeah. So super simple. There's a couple simple things you can do. For one, get clear on what is important to you. Because I know a lot of people that opening their psychic gifts is not important to them. I know people that,
I
you
agree.
know, that starting a business isn't important to them. I know people that, you know, making, you know, a couple $1 million isn't important to them. So that's cool. So get clear on what is important to you. What do you want to achieve? And write it down. And then the second thing is I'm really big on journaling, but I'm
Yeah,
not going to ask you to
absolutely.
journal to heal. You should do that. And it's important, but take note. Like really, one of the things that I did that showed me so much growth is um, about a month after Mike passed, I started writing him letters, and it was my way of healing. It was a great way of healing. But what I did in those letters was I told him about my day, because I used to fill him in on my day. And so I still needed to do that. And in the
Mm,
process of doing that, I was able to see my growth, because if I went back
mm,
and looked at
yeah,
these journals, I could see, even just reading energetically, where I was, like how sad and defeated and broken and depressed I was, versus even like, you know, 6 months from then or a year from then, it was huge. So pictures, documentation, you know, being honest and really doing a self-evaluation, asking friends, like, I can't even tell you, I had a client reach out to me probably about a month ago, and she is somebody who's been with me since probably about 2016. And she said, oh my gosh, I came across a video you did, one of your first lives. She's like, it's almost like you're not even the same
unrecognizable.
person. Yeah. So go
Mm,
back and look at that stuff. Like, look at old videos, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you do live videos or YouTube or podcasts. Look at
I've
old
seen them,
pictures.
trust me.
Yeah, like, and
I've
also
seen
look
them.
at your
Yeah.
journals. Look from where you were, and really, it doesn't take long. It takes like
Yeah,
maybe 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes a week, to really write
yeah,
down your feelings, your thoughts, your dreams, and you'll
absolutely.
see the progression.
I have a friend who recently told me he's doing he's doing vlogs, no, just for himself, video kind of journaling, which I thought was very impressive, daily
Mhm.
even. But you know, it's interesting because I looked back at an old journal from 18 years ago, and
Wow.
I thought within 10, I'm gonna burn it. What do I have it here for? It's just lots of space. It's taking lots of space. And it's not just the things that I saw that, yeah, okay, there was like some melodramatic moments, you know,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
what was also really good was, it wasn't just about how I've grown in terms of the how much better I'm doing things, but also like how much work I was doing then. I was really like, oh my gosh, I was really seriously deeply into my spiritual growth at the time. And I think it gave me an insight to some of the lighter aspects of me at that time. And I think our memory can be sometimes like it can trick us into, you know, thinking of things because we had a heavy energy from the past, but actually really gave me perspective. I was doing incredible amounts of deep work at the time, and I
hmm,
was really curious, and I was really, you know, and it helped me reframe who I was back then, and to see, not surprising, I'm led to the person I'm now in a way, you know. So there's positive
yeah,
things to the journal as well. But no, I really,
yeah.
really love that. So we've got journaling and what was the first thing we've said again? The which I can't get it.
Setting your goals, really getting
Setting
clear
your
on what
goals,
you want to
really
achieve.
knowing. I love that, because again, it's this thing that it's not what your mother or father expects from you, but it's who
Right.
you really want to be. And I think that's a really massive subject, actually, because it can be so hard. I think I wrote a blog once about how people can really sometimes, you know, give up on things because we haven't really learned how to be consistent and create rituals out of the things we really love. We haven't really been guided to find out the things that we really love in life. So then we can, you know, I don't think there's an issue of giving up on things when we don't love them, when they're not for us. It's the right thing to do. But
Right.
if people feel the pressure of, oh, but I've given up on so many things, but maybe it's because they have not accessed quite what was really quite in alignment or right for them. So I think the thing about knowing oneself is so, so important.
Yeah.
I
Or
would love
people
to
will,
know.
go ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, or people will say to me often, I had a conversation about a month ago with a gentleman who came to me, and he realized he was so successful. He's done amazing things in his life, amazing. And he said to me, I didn't want to do any of them. And I said to him, well, why
Wow.
did
Oh
you
my
do them? And he
gosh.
said, because my parents expected me to, and I
Wow.
didn't want to let them down. And looking from the outside at this gentleman, you would say he's successful. You know, he's made a name. He's helped people. He's living the best life possible. People looked up to him. People would,
Yeah.
people would ask him how to achieve what he did. And when he got honest with me, he said, I don't want to do any of it. And I don't feel successful. This isn't what I want to do. I need to change this. And so that's why it's so important. But also, don't compare yourself to other people. And that will be the biggest thing that holds you back, is when you compare yourself to somebody and say, I want what they have because they look happy. They might have money. People admire them. Whatever it is. That's why it's crucial to get clear on what makes you happy. Just you, not society, not your family, not your parents, not your friends, not even your
Yeah.
spouse,
Yeah.
just not your kids. People will say, I'm
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
for my kids. Like,
I don't
that's the
resonate with
biggest.
that. I don't like
Me
that.
neither. I
I'm
don't
not doing
either.
anything for him.
Me neither. I don't. Like, they're on their journey too. We're just the that's a whole nother topic. We're just the portal to help these beings come into the world. I'm not living my life for my children, nor do I want them to live their life for their children. And so it's getting clear on that. And that will change a lot of things for people. And then don't be embarrassed to give things up. People look at it as it's like a failure if you change something, or because, like, you stop growing your business or you start something new. It's not a failure. It's actually
I
an
remember
amazing
you
thing.
saying that. You shared that actually even in this Psychic Biz Academy, how it's okay when you're realigning. It's okay to
Right.
change. Don't feel like even in your brand, even in your programs, in how you're doing things. And for some people, it might be a sense of just like honing more and more into it and refining that more and more. For other people, it will be a different journey of just shifting completely, because again, we're going through this inner growth all the time, where we're uncovering different layers of conditioning or belief systems, and we might find that we're in a different place in a few months down the line. Can we take a moment to celebrate those people who really do stay in that uncomfortable stage? Because I feel that possibly even a lot of people who are listening to this talk as well, who feel really in that place of discomfort, because you've shared the examples of people who had everything, yet it was not really aligned to their soul or what they really desired. So I just feel like I really want to give space to celebrate those who don't know and can be brave enough to be in that space of not knowing and they're searching and seeking until something opens up.
Yeah, and keep searching and seeking. Like, it's not a bad thing. People say, oh, they have no idea what they want. We forget that we are like everything else. Things never stop growing. A tree never stops growing until it dies. Things keep growing. So why do we think that as humans that we need to get a business, we need to get a job, and we stay in that job for 50 years or whatever till we retire, and then I don't even know what you do when you retire. So but that's not how life is. We're the only species that wants to get something and stay in it and hold on to it and don't change, because we celebrate that. We celebrate if you were with a company for 50 years, instead of celebrating the people who continue to grow, the people who continue to step out of their comfort zone. That's what we need to do.
Absolutely. I agree with that. What do you think are some of the things that Spirit is really surprised about how humans we do things? What do they find surprising, or kind of like thinking, oh no?
I don't know that I wouldn't call it surprise, because people will be like, oh my God, did my guides never think? And let me tell you, your guides know everything that you're going to do. You can't surprise them. But I think what the guides, I think that, I don't want to say they feel bad for us, but we make life so much harder than we ever need to do. We judge ourselves so much more than we ever should be judging ourselves. And we literally, like, we hold ourselves back. They can say, just do this. I guess we make it harder. What they're saying, they're like, you make it harder than it ever needs to be.
Mm,
Because we bring worry in, we bring doubt, we bring questions in, we bring so many things in.
yeah.
And in reality, if we just let go and trusted that journey, but in all the judgment, and I think that, our guides try to show us all the time, every day, with signs and messages and, and other people, but we really make life so much harder than it has to be.
Yeah. And do you think, is there any common ground between, say, our human sort of civilization and the way we do things to more advanced ones? Is there any common ground or any similarities or anything where we can just say, there we can resonate from
In
your
common ground
experience?
between
Yeah, yeah. So maybe
between
kind of
who? I didn't hear who you
between
said.
the way us humans do things in our planet, to say some of the more advanced civilizations.
Yeah.
From your experience, what could be some of the maybe the more common ground where we can kind of like, okay, yeah, there's more similarities.
Yeah, so I've met a lot of, like, I go through a lot of guides because guides are on all different levels. So
Mm.
people think that guides, when they come forward, they're just these, almighty advanced beings who know everything. And I've had multiple times when guides say, you have outgrown me, you've passed, I can no longer help you. You must work with a higher level. So guides are doing the same work we are. They really are. Spirit is
Mm.
doing the same work we
That's
are,
important to
just on a
you
different
sharing
level.
that.
Yeah,
Hmm. So
and
they
people
are
don't
also
recognize
growing,
that.
right?
Absolutely.
Mm.
I work with guides or spirit all the time who are releasing things from the past, who are trying, like, soul integrations and soul retrievals. Those are working with spirits who are still stuck in their trauma or holding on to karmic energy. So they're
Mm.
doing the same thing. They're making the same connections. They're, the in joy, love, they're all focusing and working toward meeting that ultimate goal of peace and of nirvana.
Mm.
Basically, they're doing that
And
as well.
and as they working with us, are we also helping them in a way
Yes.
evolve? Yeah,
Yes.
it's
Yeah,
interesting.
we absolutely are. And especially when it comes to, like, departed loved ones, absolutely are helping them. But the same with spirit guides. I've had multiple people, say, can remember a psychic very clearly. She was like, your guides are moving out because you're more advanced than they are. So new guides are coming in. It happens all the time.
Mm.
But we are helping them as well. When we grow, when we do healing,
Hmm.
it kind of like feeds universal energy, so it helps everybody. It's like, kicking back good energy to the universe that then everybody has the ability to tap into.
So that's wonderful. So let me tell you some of the types of beings that I've connected with, and I'd love to
Sure.
know some of the categories that you've kind of connected with, just out of like curiosity, really.
Sure.
So for me, there's been these magicians called the Zion that kind of protected guys that look like Vikings most of the
Hmm.
time, that they came to work. And then I've worked with like an Atlantean being,
Hmm.
who helped really bring an attunement between us and our lost gifts from Atlantis. And then there's the kind of more higher galactic beings, 11th dimensional, 12th dimensional beings. So they've been kind of very interesting energies. I found myself really much more into the sort of weak and earthy energies.
Hmm.
But I'd love to know some of the array of beings that you've worked with, and I guess, I don't know, any observations or things that you want to share about that was
Sure.
particularly interesting for you, or that you've learned from.
Yeah, and it's everybody everybody has a guide. I think that's important, and everybody has beings that they work with. And most often, like you said, you really connect with the earthy beings. There's normally a genre of beings, or it's an energy that the beings hold, that you kind of align to and kind of get pulled toward. Some people would prefer to channel with angels. Some people prefer to channel with more earthly beings. Sometimes people prefer to channel with more galactic beings. So whatever you're pulled toward, definitely connect with those, but you can be open to whoever. But
I'm
I've
open, yeah.
I've worked with I guess it's probably easier. I don't know of any beings that I haven't worked with. I've worked with fairies before. A lot of elementals from the earth come forward. You can read the energy from the earth. So you can read the energy from tree spirits. You can read the energy like from gnomes that are around. I have worked with a lot of shamanic beings, a lot of sorcerers, a lot of magicians I've worked with. I've worked with a lot of healing guides, so guides that step forward to do a lot of healing, a lot of conscious shifting guides, which are normally celestial beings. I work with a lot of those. I've worked with Arcturians regarding healing. I've channeled with some Palladians before, Lemurian guides, star. I have a guide. He's a celestial being. A star being is his energy. A lot of ascended masters, and I oftentimes will channel directly from source energy. I connect with source a lot of the time as well.
And no, that's wonderful. And actually forgot to say, fairy beings and the elementals have been quite strong, showing up quite a lot in my work, surprisingly so. And today was one of them. And are you, what did I want to ask about? Was there a particular, some of those energies that really spoke to you, or did you get to find out more about where you're coming from, or where some of the predominant, I guess, star energies where you feel have been home for you, that feel like, where you got to draw a lot of your personal power and energy from?
So yeah, a little bit. I channel a lot of celestial beings, is the ones that I work with from the higher dimensions, very high vibrational beings. I do channel a lot with those. I really do. It wasn't necessarily my choice. Along the journey, I would do a shamanic journey, and I would just end up standing in front of source. And that is constantly been something that has been a huge part of my journey, is always, standing in front of source, talking directly to source. But definitely more of the celestial beings, the star beings. But I go from one extreme to the other, because I've worked to remove, and when you remove something or work with something, you must communicate with it to understand it. So I worked with entities, and I've worked with, discarnate energies before, because I remove them, or clear houses and that kind of stuff. But I do like the star being energy the best, I think.
And do you have a sense where home is for you, in terms of like where you are from originally?
A little bit.
Have you looked into
normally, yeah, a little bit. One of the things that I think this is one of the things that the guides have people are really interested in finding out where they come from. And I get that a lot, people asking me where I come from, and what type of energy I am, and that kind of stuff. And one of the things that the guides always say is that people can get wrapped up in who they were in past lives, who they were energetically, what they're supposed to be. And we get so distracted by that we forget the aspect that I'm Carrie, I'm here right now. These are the abilities that I have. This is the purpose that I have.
Yeah.
This is something I have the ability to share. And this is my path right here. And that's something that's super important that we pay attention to, is we can get very stuck thinking that I was this person in a past life, or I originate from here.
Yeah.
We're here right now, and this is who we're meant to be.
Do you know why I'm asking this question? I had the pleasure of once being taken on a journey from my previous teacher to Sirius, and when the energy I accessed it really felt like home. And I remember coming back from it and really bursting into like tears. But for me, it was more about energy that I needed to embody to bring back to who I am now. And that was significant in terms of what it was to activate for me and what it was to bring forward. It was more from that sense, I guess, rather than anything else. So I knew that Sirius held an important part for me,
Yeah. And you're right. It is so true. If I take people on journeys, even if we do a past regression, if some people can see some things that they've achieved in their past, they can embody that energy to move forward. So yes, it's an amazing aspect to do, is to connect,
Yeah.
and that to feel that energy and to have that be part of who you are in
Yeah.
this life. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's that's what more where I'm coming from. So we're just about to kind of finish. I wanted to ask one question about totem animals, if that's okay with you,
Sure.
because I'm
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
really curious about this particular aspect. I remember when you were teaching us about them and how they represent the energy of our lineage, right,
Mm-hmm.
or family.
Yeah.
And I guess a part of me is thinking, when we don't always feel that we're resonating with our biological families,
Yeah.
and I'm just thinking what could be happening there with totem animals. Is it possible that we have a different totem animal for a soul family? We have a different animal for them connected with our lineage there to a biological family, or it doesn't work like that?
So not everybody has a totem animal. It
Okay.
depends on your lineage, your human lineage. Not every family has a totem. It's a part of heritage, it's a part of religion, it's a part of belief type thing. So not every family has a totem animal. Everybody has power animals. Every single
Mm-hmm.
person has a power animal. They're different.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't resonate with your totem energy of your family, it's an ancestral thing, so it's passed on. But one of the reasons might be is because instead of aligning with your human family, you align more, exactly what you said, with your soul family.
That's what I
And
was wondering about.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And so you might not, and that's okay. It's one of those, totem animals are there for you to be able to tap into the energy, to use like guides. We tap into our guides to get information, for healing, whatever it is that that guide specifically does. The totem animal does the same thing. So let's say your
Yeah.
totem animal is bear. Bear is about strength. Bear is about courage. Bear is about healing. So you have the ability to tap into the energy that bear produces or brings forward on
Yeah.
your journey. And there's probably an important reason why you were born into that family that holds so tight to the belief or to the connection with bear.
Yeah.
So, but you don't have to use it by any means.
Yeah. Yeah. I was intrigued by this because of, if there is a dissonance, say, for instance, if it's to do with more complex issues around past life, family karma,
Mhm.
or just being like different, like star systems or whatever, like just the whole thing of the totem animal and that being part of a lineage is intriguing to me, but it just kind of brought up all these questions. So I found that
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't realize that we don't always have a totem animal.
Yeah. Not
Not everybody
everybody
has
has a
one.
totem animal. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Not every ancestor, like family, has a totem animal they're associated with.
Sure, sure. No, there's been some really juicy stuff that what I liked, how I feel like I would like to end these interviews, and obviously
Yeah.
the space to share anything more that we might want to at the end as well. I kind of really always curious to hear about people's kind of routines and habits that kind of
Hmm.
help them in the productivity, that help them make the most of their lives. And I think it's always nice to hear people who are doing well in their lives,
Yeah.
how they get to do so well. What do they do? So if you care to share some of the rituals that, your daily personal professional routines and rituals that give structure to your schedule, support your creativity,
Sure.
organization around your business, that would be great.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I believe that routines and rituals are so important, and so are schedules. And I'm not like a person, I'm not watching the clock all the time, like, have to do this and now it's time to do this. But I do go with the flow,
Good.
with the ability to keep it open as well. Because
That's great.
as
That's
we all
such
know, spirit changes things in a matter of moments. So, but every single morning sometimes before I even open my eyes, and I only do this, I would suggest you open your eyes and get out of bed to do this, is to really focus on your own energy in your own space. So the
Mhm.
first thing you should be doing, especially as a psychic, as a healer, as an energy worker, as somebody who's a lot on their spiritual journey, is don't pick up the phone. Don't even pick up a journal. Just sit and feel into your own energy. If you can read your chakras, do a little chakra balancing, do a little energy balancing. Just bring your energy back to you so
Yeah.
you feel really connected to ourselves. We can go through in our entire day disconnected from ourselves and just feel like we're running in a million different directions. But if you can balance that energy and bring it back to you at the very
Mm.
start of your day, it just shifts the energy. So I do a lot of I'll do alignment and connection with myself, and I'll do a grounding exercise. And then for me, nature is super important. So I go for a walk every single morning. Now, sometimes on a Sunday, I might not till a little bit later, but I do my balancing. I get up, I let the dogs out, we put collars on, and we go for a walk. And that's a time when I don't listen to music, I don't listen to I don't listen to anything. I just connect with myself or connect with nature on the walk. I don't try to plan my day even. And that's the thing, we're always trying to like get to the next point. So it just allows me to be. And then for my business, I do a lot of being aware of how I want it to feel. So I'm really big on
Lovely.
feeling.
Great. Great.
Yeah. So how do I want my day to feel? How do I want to, what is it that I want to achieve? And again, for me, it's not like I want to make $5,000 today. It's more of, I want to feel like I impacted people. I want to feel like I was doing what it was that I'm supposed to be doing. I want to feel connected to myself. I want to feel like everything is flowing. And so I focus on how I want to feel throughout my day. And then I allow my day to unfold. But like I have a schedule, I have clients that I see. So, my
Sure.
day starts at 8 and it ends around 2, my work in my office. I do some working out, and then I do right now I travel with my daughter, and then I do a little bit more work. So I make sure throughout my day that I have time
Great.
for me. I have
Good.
time for my clients, my business, creating. I have times where I work out. I have time where I connect with friends, and I have time for my children. And I make sure all the things that are most important to me throughout my day are included in every single day, every day.
And 8 o'clock is the time you start working. I'm guessing you
hmm
you wake up before that, right?
I wake up at 5. Yeah, I wake up at 5.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
impressive.
So, and I have for a long time. And it's not necessarily by choice. Like I don't set an alarm. I just wake up between 5 and 6 every single morning.
Wow.
But my day normally starts between 8 and 9. It doesn't necessarily mean I have calls at 8, but I'll get into my office, I'll do some stuff, I check in, I'll reply to messages and that type of stuff. And my calls normally
Lovely.
start at 9 and go to 2.
That's great. I just started celery juicing every morning, and
Oh
that's really
yeah.
really great. I was getting some advice from the medical mediums that he was giving out on his videos, and it's a really powerful, I guess, medicine to drink. It feels really really empowering and really clearing your
Yeah.
head and supporting your
Yeah.
health. So I'm looking at dietary kind of support at the moment more. But
Yeah,
I
I do
love
celery
hearing
juice
that.
like 4 days a week, 4 to 5
Do
days a week.
you?
It depends. Yeah. Yeah. And I have
Yeah.
for a couple years now. When I first started, I was doing it 7 days a week, but I do it
Wow.
about 4 now. Yeah.
Have you really, I'm really just started, it's my second week. So have you
Yeah.
really seen the effects of that?
I did. Yeah. Yeah. And I do like if I stop it or if I'm traveling and I don't do that because I make my own, I don't, buy
Sure.
it
Same.
pre done. And so if I'm traveling, like I won't have it. And I notice it. I just notice how I feel. It really is like an energy thing. So food is very important to me inside
Mm.
my energy and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So no, that's really wonderful. I'd love obviously people to know how they can connect with you. I know you have a
Yeah.
really lovely online community that
Yeah.
where they can, I know you do energy readings there, and you give a lot of value in your groups for people who really want to connect. I know a lot of people who want to connect more with a life purpose way before they even have their businesses
hmm
are really, your group can also be a space for that, right?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Yep. So
um,
I actually have 2 groups. I have a business group where we do a lot of spiritual stuff and psychic stuff. It's the Affluent Entrepreneur. And then I just recently started where I can do a lot more psychic and healing stuff in. It's called
Great.
Spiritual Leaders and Teachers of Tomorrow. So I can put
Lovely.
the links in
That would
the
be
comments
great.
below. Yeah.
That would be great. And of course, your website, if people want to find out more about your story, because I think it's quite a compelling story and quite,
Oh, thanks.
you goes into depth into all that's, yeah, what your journey has been really. And your website is?
CarrieCardozo.com. Everything on all social media website is CarrieCardozo.com.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Carrie, before we go, I obviously really enjoy, and I could go on for ages, and it felt very exciting to have this conversation with you. Thank you so much for
You're so welcome.
being my very first guest.
You're so welcome.
And I just want to say a really big thank you personally for all the changes that you've been part in facilitating in my own life, and that I've only just kind of, in a way, it feels like it's kind of started the last few years. Is there anything that you feel like you want to share that feels that really prominent, that needs to be touched on particularly? Or
I think so. I think,
no?
My big thing in, one of the reasons I started my business and what I constantly talk about is that there's something important that every single person is meant to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you take the time to recognize that and acknowledge that and lean into that and share that, and it completely changes your life. So if you haven't found it yet, don't give up, keep going. But I do believe that everybody has a very specific purpose here, and it's our job to figure out what that is.
Yeah.
And not judge it, but really embrace it. When you do, it will completely change your life when you do that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Samaya. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
And and people can connect with you. If they have any questions also, they can come maybe into your group and they can ask more. And
absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me, Samaya. And thank you guys for watching. We didn't interact with people. We can't see it on here, but we'll be back to answer questions.
Okay, lovely.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Cool. It stopped.
Yay. Okay, good. Well, we got there at the end.
Yes, yeah. So